Hi, good evening everybody. Welcome to the Sabre Zone. This is the video on the channel that always talks about what you guys have posted and what you guys got to say. And I found a very simple one. And yes, I've gotten out of my 49ers gear and I'm back in blue and gold. Now, it's a small clip. I'm going to put it up there. There you go. Joel Lachance. Cousins will only get bigger, stronger, faster, and better. No shit. There you go. There's the video. No kidding. No kidding. Like, it's funny because I know some of these comments were made because I had talked a little bit about calling out some of the guys. Like I called out, not called out really Cousins, but I talked about how he's been struggling as of late in certain areas, not in his entire game. His entire game overall this year, he's still doing all right. I mean, he's a kid. You know, I'm very aware of that. I want that to be very clear out there. I believe Dylan Cousins is a huge part of our future, a huge part. But at the same time, while he's going through some growing pains, I'm going to point them out. It's normal. But what Joel said there is exactly right. He's going to get bigger, stronger, faster, everything. Everything that he said there is going to happen. This is a stud. This is one of our high-end prospects on this team. And for me to actually maybe come off that I'm frustrated with Dylan Cousins at his age is ridiculous, really. So don't take it that way. I'm not. But I will point out things where, you know, there's certain things like the -11's no fluke. Whatever it was. I believe that was the statistic that I pointed out. Because he's made a lot of mistakes in 5-on-5 play this year, right? Where the plus-minus kind of puts the microscope on the 5-on-5, the even strength. And he's made some mistakes, but who hasn't on this team? Who hasn't, right? If Dylan Cousins could be having a 100-point season and be one of the MVPs of the league, and we'd still be struggling. We still would be. So it's about everybody and all these kids all getting young and older together, all getting, you know, they're going to mature together, and we're going to watch it happen. And the key is my belief is what system are we bringing them into? How are we developing them? This is why I whine and complain, guys, about the hitting on this team. If we bring these young kids now and teach them now, you don't got to be physical, and we know Dylan Cousins can be, they're not going to be, because nobody wants to ruffle the feathers of the coach, especially young kids. They don't want to do that. We've got to change the system. I shouldn't say change it. We need to tweak it. We need to become more aggressive as a unit. That when you play Buffalo, in Buffalo, especially in our home ice, it's not a pleasure to go there and play. You're like, oh God, we got to play Buffalo next week. That's what you want other teams saying. Not like looking at it saying, well, thinking ahead of time, that's a non-physical team. We're okay. You know, we're not going to get all banged up after that game. We don't want to have a team like that or a system like that. And I've heard it said too, that many of you have thrown it out there, that we got to get some guys that hit more and stuff. I agree with that 100%. Yes, we do need some more big physical players on this hockey team. No doubt about it. But meanwhile, there's no excuse for us to be dead last in the league in hitting. I don't care what anybody says there. And you know I'm right. It is a true statement, guys. We shouldn't have the tolerance for being dead last in anything. Anything. We've been dead last for too long in too many things. You know what I mean? No. This team has to wake up and at least that element of their game and bring a little more to the ice. When you can't throw one hit a game, are you really an NHL player? That's my question. Are you? If you can't throw one hit a night, one, you're going to have like how many shifts? You can't throw one hit? Doesn't make any sense in my mind. None. You got chances. And watch us in the corners. How when we go after them and we're just about to go, engage, how we'll let up. Dylan Cousins is one of those guys I kind of trust a little more with that, even though I thought he'd bring more to the table this year in that department. I really did. I expected him to be more of a leader this year, which he hasn't been. But then again, he's a kid. He's learning. He's anxious to score goals. These are the thoughts going on in his head. He's anxious not to be embarrassed on the ice by veterans. There's things like this that go on in young guys' heads, I'm sure, right? I mean, he doesn't want to be exposed and have to answer to the press after Harrington and company asking him questions. Why'd you do this? Why'd you, So we want to go out there. We want to establish more of a contact game. And we don't got to be the best hitting team in the league, guys. We just can't be the worst, okay? We got to be in the top row. We got to be in the top half of the league in that department at bare minimum, if we're going to be another losing season like this. What have we got to lose by being harder to play against? I don't see what we have to lose by doing that. There's nothing to lose. There's everything to gain. There's self-respect. I mean, it's hard for these guys, I'm sure, to respect themselves when they're losing and losing and losing. I mean, they must know when they look at the hits at the end. If I know, they know. If you know, they know. They see it. How come it's not addressed? I don't get why it's not addressed. But this is why Dylan Cousins made me think of this kind of video, is because he's the type of guy, he plays that kind of game when he's in his game. And I find him sometimes lost to a degree where he seems like he's holding back, if that makes any sense. I find that Dylan Cousins holds back. He looks brilliant on some shifts. He really does. This guy looks brilliant on some shifts. And then he'll come out with another shift making all sorts of fearful mistakes on the ice. And I got to remember, he's the baby of the team, basically, right? So we've got to, remember his age. We can't forget that. Still not shaved. He probably hasn't shaved in his entire life. Think about that. And he's up against some guys, some burly veterans in this league. And you run into hard-hitting teams like Boston all of a sudden. It's a little intimidating for the younger guys. But he's held his own in some nights too. Got to give this time with the younger guys. And of course, Dylan Cousins. It's top of the list right now, really, him and Darlene. I mean, these are the top of the list guys that we have to be patient with. We can look at their defensive game, their offensive game, their physical game, and we can complain about it all we want, but nothing changes the fact they're young. And we got to give it, I'll tell you this, 3 more years before we can lay judgment on this. 3 more years. When a guy's about 5 years into his career, this is why I'm very concerned with Olofsson, to be, honestly, I'm very concerned with Olofsson that this is his ceiling, that we've seen it already. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I'm wrong about Olofsson also. But I do believe that he's not even yet tapped his potential. Joel, for the record, he has not tapped his potential. We know that. I mean, it's obvious just by his age, but you look at him out there, some nights he looks like a real leader some nights, and then other nights he looks invisible, which is normal for a kid. He's in the sophomore year. That's the toughest year in the hockey for anybody in their entire career. Usually is, because they could have a decent looking rookie season, kind of, and then they come into a season like this and everybody already has now the tapes on this kid. And they've watched him and they know what he's going to try and do over here and what he's capable of. They check all this stuff. They're analytic guys. They check all this stuff. So that's my take on it. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to see you guys in the morning. Okay, I'm going to try and get up very early tomorrow and do the pregame. Let's hope the Sabres go get them tomorrow because I need some redemption. I'm tired of losing, guys. It's wearing me down. It is. It's getting harder and harder to make videos even. Really, it's driving me nuts. All right, guys, I'll see you in the morning.